Hello Fast Fam, thanks for tuning in. I'm Craig Lieberman and I've been tinkering on cars since 1980. I've owned more than 40 cars in my life. Some were heroes, some were zeros. But never in my wildest dreams would I ever guess that 3 of my cars would go on to star in a motion picture franchise. My Supra, my GTR, and my Maxima all had starring roles in Universal's Fast and Furious movies. Over the next 3 years, I'd served Universal as a technical advisor. I helped choose the cars, procure the parts, oversee their builds, and support both production and post-production. I have some cool stories to tell about what it was like to build these cars and to work with the cast. I was there, on set, in the production meetings, working on cars, hanging with the actors, and consulting on post-production. So follow along as I tell the stories. Let's jump in. If you thought the S2000 in the second movie looked familiar, you're not alone. As most people know, the S2000 in the second film was more or less the same car from the first film. Here's how that happened. In the first movie, we needed a car for Johnny Tran. We looked at several different options and decided that an S2000 would be a good fit. Since we were working on a tight budget, we chose to follow the same procedure for procuring a car for this role. Namely, we rented it from the owner. The owner of this car at the time was R.J. DeVera, whom, as you might remember, played Danny Yamato. Danny was in the white Honda Civic during the first race and appeared in several different shots. The S2000 went through many revisions. When I first saw this car, it was black and it was running Andrew Racing dish wheels. But before the movie, the car received a set of Andrew Racing mesh wheels. The third set of wheels on this car came just before Too Fast, Too Furious, and those were RJ's own signature wheels under the name brand Roja, and they were called Roja GTM wheels. The car was 3 different colors at 3 different times. It was the factory black before the movie. It was painted Chroma Flare blue-purple just after the first movie, and the car was then fitted with Roja Formula 5 wheels. Later on, it was painted pearl orange, and it was then fitted with the aforementioned Roja GTM wheels. Roja, as I briefly mentioned, was RJ's own line of wheels produced with an existing manufacturer, which was called American Racing Wheels, if my memory serves me correctly. The S2000 always featured the Veilside body kit, which you saw in both movies, and which was installed before the first movie. Here's where things take a weird twist. Although we've always touted this car as being supercharged, the supercharger kit technically wasn't really installed until after the first movie, but before the Hollywood premiere. The very first time I saw the motor was at the Hollywood premiere. The supercharger kit was a Comtech kit, which is based upon a Paxton supercharger. The car also had an HKS exhaust, HKS suspension, and the strut tower bar was from RE Works. Therefore, to be truly accurate in the description of this car as it was used on screen, the S2000 was naturally aspirated when it appeared in the first movie. There was no blower, no turbo, and no nitrous. Not yet. In the best case scenario, the car made 350 horsepower to the crank with the blower, but in stock trim, this car made only 240 horsepower at the crank. It doesn't matter though, as a stock S2000 would have smoked an automatic 4-cylinder Jetta. Here are the performance specs for a stock S2000 and for a stock 2-liter 4-cylinder Jetta. The S2000 will do the quarter mile in 14.9 seconds, and the Jetta 2-liter with an automatic does the quarter mile in about 16.8 seconds on a good day, downhill with a tailwind and 3 midgets pushing. Although the car wasn't actually supercharged at Race Wars, it wouldn't have changed the outcome. Jesse still would have got smoked, but in this configuration, Dom's RX-7 would have taken this little S2000 the Gapplebees if they had ever raced. In real life, that is. For production of the first movie, we had only one S2000. No stunt car, no backup car, no nothing. This footage of the Picture Car Warehouse shows that there are no other S2000s on set. So what do we use for a stunt car? Well, those close-ups were done using a MicRig Honda Civic. If you look closely at this video, you can see that this is a Honda Civic from Toretto's gang, and we added a few accessories to make it look like Tran's S2000. If you look really carefully, you can see the double-decker wing we used on the hijacked Civics in the back window. After Race Wars, though, we really didn't get to see much of the car. The only other scene this car was in was the scene where Tran and his gang pumped oil down Ted's throats. Fast forward 2 years, and production starts up for Too Fast, Too Furious. Once again, I was heavily involved in choosing the cars for the main characters. This movie had a character named Suki, as we all know. Suki, who was played by Devin Aoki, was a badass racer chick. She would need a hot tuner car to match her style. I originally suggested a Toyota MR2 Spider, and Universal tentatively agreed, and we purchased and started building 4 of these cars. Then one day, we got a call from the production offices over at Universal. Basically, on the other end of the line, they were telling us we're going another way with Suki's car, stop what you're doing, and find another car. Well, after some discussion, we decided that we'd use a Honda S2000 for this character. David Martyr, who was my boss, purchased the S2000 from the first movie outright, and we got to work immediately. You have to remember that it was RJ and Versus Motorsports that owned the S2000 at this time. Given that Suki was supposed to get the MR2 Spider, I can't help but wonder what impact this would have had on this car's popularity. There was no time to consider that back then, so I just went with it. In the end, the producers thought she would look better in a convertible. We decided to use the S2000 since it looked sleeker, but we had already started construction on the MR2 Spiders, as I mentioned. These MR2s, once they were done, were relegated for use in the warehouse scramble scene. Ultimately, we had 5 S2000s for Too Fast Furious. Hero 1, aka is the Principal 1 car, Hero 2, aka Principal number 2, Stunt 1, Stunt 2, and a Mick Rig shell, which started off as a gray S2000. The art department was heavily involved in the visual look of this car. At first they wanted the car to be magenta red as shown on this early build sheet. It was then somewhere along the line decided that the car should be pink. Overall, Universal wanted a feminine anime kind of look, so they hired an artist by the name of Noah Elias, who had done work on many of the Alpine audio cars. Each car was hand airbrushed by the artist at a cost of about $11,000 per car. I was assigned to spice up the rest of the car, and since the outside was already more or less done, I opted for gauges and audio video. The audio video came from Panasonic, Rockford Fosgate, Lightning Audio, and our other sponsors. Apex gauges and some neon string lights were added to the interior to kind of spice it up a bit. Once we got to Florida, the car had the interior reupholstered in two-tone pink bathroom carpet material. I'm not even joking, it was literally bathroom carpet. Since Suki's bridge jump was deemed so dangerous, we rigged the stunt car up with a remote control device so that it could be piloted by a chase vehicle. I covered this in great detail in another video, but suffice to say, the car survived the jump but with some serious damage. Didn't really matter though, as the car would make only one other appearance during the movie's warehouse scramble scene. As shown here, it pops out of the warehouse as a decoy. And we basically don't get to see the car again. And with that, the S2000 faded into Fast and Furious history. So what happened to these cars after the movie? The Hero 1 car, the actual Hero 1 car, is sitting at the Peterson Automotive Museum in Los Angeles, California. I personally viewed the car in 2009, and the interior is completely sun-faded as could be expected, and has kind of fallen into disrepair, but the condition of the body shows signs of 20 years of being loaded on and off car carriers. Other than that, it's mostly intact. Another one of our S2000s was sold to a buyer in Europe. This is now owned by the same guy who bought my original Supra. As of late 2019, I just can't tell you where the other cars are because I don't know. While there are several replicas of the S2000 in the Johnny Tran configuration, I've yet to see anyone try to replicate the Suki version. But if you want to see the real thing, you can pay a visit to the Peterson Automotive Museum in Los Angeles, California. Tell them I sent you. That's it for this episode. Tune in next time for more behind the scenes insights from the franchise. Thanks for watching, everybody. See you next time.